There's a song by Queen and David Bowie called Under Pressure. What's remarkable about Under Pressure is that it captures the emotional weather of modern life long before the modern life became quite so ridiculous. Before Slack, before the WhatsApp group, before LinkedIn became a live scorecard of everyone else's promotions and holidays.
The steady path, keep it moving slow. Every step you take is the way you grow. Take the steady path, let the rhythm guide. One step at a time to the other side.
In April 1970, three astronauts in a tin can 200,000 miles from home spoke 5 words into a microphone that we've never quite forgotten. Apollo 13, Ron Howard 1995, Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, and Bill Paxton, God rest his soul, and a film I'd put very, very high on the list of things you should watch if for any reason you haven't. Not just because it's brilliantly made, because it contains in 5 very ordinary little words the most accurate portrait of real urgency I've ever seen on a screen. Houston, we have a problem. That was my American accent, I think. Listen to how they say it, though. No shouting, no panic, just a quiet, deliberate report, like someone phoning the AA about a flat tyre on the M62. And yet, behind those 5 words, there are 3 men running out of oxygen, a service module that's just exploded, a planet they may never see again, and roughly 2,000 decisions that all have to be made exactly right, or 3 families lose a husband, a father, and a son. That is real urgency. Hold that in your mind for a second. Now, with as much honesty as you can manage, ask yourself, when did you last face a moment that had even 1,000th of the actual urgency of that one? Probably not this morning, and yet your inbox feels like Apollo 13. The meeting on Thursday feels like Apollo 13. The school WhatsApp group definitely feels like Apollo 13. That's what we're talking about today, the myth of urgency. Why almost everything in modern life feels desperately important, and why almost none of it actually is. Let's start by being honest about what real urgency is, because we should be careful not to dismiss it. Real urgency exists and it matters. It has 3 features. It's time bound, there's a clock and the clock is real. It's consequential, getting it wrong has serious, often irreversible outcomes. And it's external. It isn't being generated inside your head, it's being generated by the world. The 80s and 90s gave us a brilliantly cinematic library of the real thing. Speed, Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock, 1994, a bus that can't drop below 50 miles an hour or it explodes. Genuinely urgent. Die Hard, 1988, John McClane trapped inside Nakatomi Plaza, whilst Hans Gruber, played by Alan Rickman in his film debut, God rest him, leads a gang of armed thieves. Dozens of hostages, and one shoeless New York cop trying to stop the whole thing. Genuinely urgent. And yes, still one of the best Christmas films ever made. And Apollo 13, 3 men, 200,000 miles, oxygen running out, genuinely urgent. You'll notice something about all 3. Nobody has to tell you they're urgent. You feel it. The audience knows immediately in the body before anyone explains a thing. Now compare that to the email that arrived 15 minutes ago. The notification, the headline, the reminder, the thing a colleague described as really urgent because they want it done first. None of those has a single one of the 3 features. They have a sender, they have a timestamp, they occasionally have a small red dot. But they're not in any meaningful sense urgent. We have somewhere along the way confused those 2 categories almost completely, and it's costing us. If real urgency belongs to Apollo 13, then false urgency belongs almost too perfectly to Office Space. Mike Judge, 1999. Possibly the most accurate film ever made about working in an office. I'd rank it just below Spinal Tap as one of the great, quietly devastating cultural commentaries of its era. It's also hilarious. Bill Lumbergh, the world's most passive-aggressive middle manager, leaning over Peter Gibbons' cubicle in that voice. Yeah, so Peter, what's happening? I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in on Saturday, okay? And then, of course, the TPS reports. The new cover sheet for the TPS reports. The memo about the new cover sheets for the TPS reports. What Office Space spotted more than 25 years ago, before Slack, before Microsoft Teams arrived to inflict its small daily violences on humanity, was that the modern workplace runs on manufactured urgency. Tasks invented to look like progress, deadlines conjured from thin air, meetings about meetings, emails about emails, 1,000 tiny interruptions all dressed up as importance. And then we found a way to carry all of it home with us, to bed, on holiday, into our children's birthday parties. Here's the cold truth about the attention economy, and it's worth knowing because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The platforms we spend our days inside don't just want our eyes, they want us to feel that everything's urgent, because urgent things get clicked, and calm things do not. The whole arrangement is engineered to keep the nervous system in a low grade state of emergency. And here's the tell: watch what happens the next time your phone buzzes mid conversation, with someone you love sitting right there in front of you. Notice the little pull, the half glance, the sorry, one sec. That buzz has just outranked an actual human being in real time, and you didn't even decide that it should. That's not a moral failing, it's a trained reflex. Thousands of tiny reps every single day, quietly teaching your nervous system that the glowing rectangle is always the emergency. And the good news about a reflex is that you can retrain it slowly on purpose. I'm not going to tell you to throw the whole lot in a river, tempting as that occasionally is. Just one small suggestion, though, if you like it. Give yourself a little room at the edges of the day, an hour at the start and an hour at the end, that belongs to you rather than to a glowing rectangle. It's not a detox and it's not a manifesto. It's just a bit of breathing space where nothing is allowed to be urgent. There's a song by Queen and David Bowie called Under Pressure, released in 1981, that feels almost too perfect for this. I can't play it for you, but you already know it. Under pressure, dun, 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 dun. It's not busy, it's not productive, it's not important. It's under pressure. And that distinction matters because pressure is not simply having a lot to do. Pressure is the feeling that everything matters right now. Every message, every deadline, every request, every meeting, every small red notification, every tiny demand dressed up as an emergency. What's remarkable about Under Pressure is that it captures the emotional weather of modern life long before the modern life became quite so ridiculous. Before Slack, before the WhatsApp group, before LinkedIn became a live scorecard of everyone else's promotions and holidays. And mercifully, before Microsoft Teams. But the pressure was already there, which tells us something important. The technology did not create the problem, it simply gave the problem better distribution. The real issue is not the phone, not really. The real issue is our relationship with urgency, our willingness to treat every demand as equally important, our habit of confusing speed with significance, our tendency to assume that because something has arrived, it must be answered. Because something feels urgent, it must actually matter. But of course, it doesn't. Most of life is not Apollo 13. Most of work is not speed. Most emails are not hand grenades with a subject line. And yet, we so often behave as if they are. The Stoics got here long before us, obviously, and they were oddly good at it. Not on phones, obviously, but on the thing underneath the phones, the way we let other people's emergencies quietly colonize our attention. Seneca wrote a short, blunt essay called On the Shortness of Life. His argument isn't the one you'd expect. He doesn't say life is short. He says it's plenty long enough. We simply squander most of it, handing great fistfuls of it away to things and people that never earned it. That's the paradox he keeps circling. We behave as though we have endless time, and in the very same breath, as though every passing second is on fire. Both of those can't be true. And he has one more line that ought to be on a fridge magnet in every office in the country. He noticed that people are ferociously careful with their money. They'll haggle over a few pounds, guard every last penny, and yet they'll give away hours, days, whole years of their life to anyone who asks, without a second thought. He said, People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful in the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. 2,000 years on, we do exactly the same thing. We'd never let a stranger walk off with our wallet. We'd let a notification walk off with our whole afternoon, and then we thank it for the reminder. Marcus Aurelius arrived at much the same place from the other direction, running an empire at war on two fronts, a plague moving through his people. And what you notice in the private notebook he left behind is how slow it is, how patient, how long the view. Almost nothing that felt urgent, he decided, was worth the disturbance it caused him. Most of what looks urgent will not matter in a week. What matters most may look quietly ordinary in the moment. The Stoics didn't say there's no such thing as urgency. They said that most of what feels urgent is the work of the imagination, not the world, and that the whole discipline is learning to tell the two apart. I want to hand you a tool. It's a simple one. It's old and it remains the single most useful filter I know for working out what actually matters. It starts with a remark often attributed to Dwight D. Eisenhower, who, as Supreme Commander of Allied Forces in Europe, and then as President, knew a thing or two about being asked to do too many things at once. What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. Now, the person who took that throwaway line and turned it into something you could actually use was Stephen Covey in the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Covey drew it as a simple grid, his time management matrix, and built an entire habit around it. Put first things first. It's been reprinted in about 1,000 business books since, and I'm handing it to you anyway because in 40 years nothing's beaten it. That single sentence, sat with for any length of time, will quietly rearrange how you see your week. Covey's grid's very simple. 4 boxes: urgent and important, do it now, properly, with full attention. Important, but not urgent. And this is the secret: schedule it, protect it, defend it. Then you get urgent, but not important. And then you should delegate it, automate it, or honestly just ignore it. And then lastly, you get neither urgent nor important. And you should delete it from your life. It's stealing from you. And here's the thing I keep coming back to. Almost everything in modern life now lives in the urgent but not important box. The notifications, the replies, the someone else's deadline. The thing that's been escalated again by the same person who escalates everything. And it's stealing quietly, daily, comprehensively from the important but not urgent box. Which is where the actual important things live. Your marriage, your children, your health, the thinking time that produces the better decision, the walk, the book, the conversation with the friend you've been meaning to call for 6 months. Nothing in that second box is ever urgent, and that's precisely what makes it so easy to lose. So, 3 things, 3 to consider, and 3 you can actually do. Not a system, not an app, just 3 things. Number 1, pause before you react. The ping arrives. Before you respond, before your thumb does what your thumb usually does, take 3 breaths. Just 3. Then ask the question that's quietly transformational. Is this actually urgent? Or does it just feel urgent? Number 2, run the Eisenhower filter for 1 week. Genuinely. Take a piece of paper, draw 4 boxes, and for 1 week put every task itself into one of them. You'll be horrified. Then you'll be liberated. You'll discover almost without exception that most of what you've been frantic about was never important, and most of what is genuinely important you've been quietly postponing in its favour. And 3, ring fence the things that are never urgent. The walk with your husband or wife, the hour with your children where the phone is in another room, the Sunday afternoon when nothing is allowed to happen, the day in the diary that says simply thinking. Put them in the calendar. Defend them like Apollo 13. Because if you don't, the urgent will steal them. Quietly, a little at a time. until one day some of them are gone for good. So pause, filter, and defend. Just three things. Not easy, but simple, and steady and deliberate, which is the whole point. Here's the question I'd like you to take into the rest of the week. Just one as usual. And please don't try to answer it cleverly. Just sit with it. Whose urgency am I responding to? Because the unflattering truth, if we're honest, is that most of the urgency we feel is not ours. It belongs to a sender, a notification, an algorithm, a colleague, a culture. It's been quietly handed to us, and we, mostly without noticing, have agreed to carry it, as though it were our own, as though our day belonged to it. The calm investor, the calm parent, the calm leader, the calm friend, the calm version of you is not the one running fastest from notification to notification. It's the one who's worked out with some effort what is actually theirs to carry and what is not. And notice what happens when you finally put some of it down. The email you didn't answer for 4 hours got answered anyway by the sender who worked it out themselves. The meeting you declined turned out not to be needed. The world, it turns out, is far more patient than your inbox would ever have you believe. Almost nothing that felt like Apollo 13 was Apollo 13. It just borrowed the costume for the afternoon. Marcus Aurelius, one last time, he said, "Confine yourself to the present." That is very nearly the whole of it. It's not the past, which you can't change. It's not the future, which you can't control. Just the part that's actually in front of you. The good news is that you can put quite a lot of it down. You won't need it. And in the people you've been carrying it for will mostly be absolutely fine. Slow down. Decide what's actually yours. And walk steadily. Thank you for listening to episode 5 of The Steady Path. Next time, I want to talk to you about something that sits very close to the heart of all of this, the opposite of frantic, the quiet engine of almost every steady, well-lived life I've ever come across. It's called the power of routine. Have a think about your own routines this week, the ones you have, the ones you don't, and the ones you've allowed to be hijacked. And until next time, slow down, think clearly, and keep walking your steady path. I'm Paul Cleworth. Thanks for listening.
Shortcuts, no turning back. Just keep moving on the track. Take the steady path, keep it moving slow. Every step you take is the way you grow. Take the steady path, let the rhythm guide. One step at a time to the other side.